Everyone, welcome to tonight's Ordinary Council meeting for Monday, the 20th of April, 2026. We'll start with the opening affirmation and acknowledgement of country. Thank you, Councillor Bullivan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all.
Thank you. Acknowledgement to country, Councillor Baker.
We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today, and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture, tradition and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community.
Thank you. You may be seated. CM2 recording and webcasting of meeting. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice and will be made publicly available on Albury City's website. Attendance to this meeting is taken as consent to being recorded and included in the live stream. Any person who does not consent to being recorded may choose to leave the meeting. Members of the public are reminded to refrain from making defamatory remarks or disclosing personal information, noting that Albury City is not responsible for comments made by individuals. Recordings and live streams are protected by copyright and remain the property of Albury City. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the Chief Executive Officer. CM3, Conflict of Interest Declarations. Mr McGrath.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have one from Councillor Hudson declaring a non-pecuniary less than significant conflict. The reason given is that he occasionally volunteers with the Albury Wodonga Food Share. It's in respect of item CM 14.3, financial assistance. Councillor Hudson has indicated he intends to stay in the chamber and participate in the debate.
Thank you.
And there are development matters. Mr Mayor, if I can provide advice, the general advice to council regarding, particularly considering there are development related matters on the agenda. The Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, section 10.4 requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. The disclosure statement forms are available on Council's website or from the Customer Service Centre and must be lodged in accordance with the Act. The forms are also available at the back of the chamber during meetings. In determining development applications, councillors must consider the relevant planning matters under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. These matters, as set out in section 415(1) of the Act, are detailed in the Council Officer's report. Under section 375A of the Local Government Act 1993, a division must be called for any motion relating to a planning decision. A planning decision includes decisions made under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, such as those relating to development applications and planning instruments, but excludes orders made under Division 9.3 of Part 9 of that Act.
Thank you, Mr McGrath. Apologies. Thanks, councillors. Councillor Glaken.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, to move the recommendation as a motion that council receive and note and accept the apologies of councillors King and Budkowski and grant them leave of absence for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Callahan.
Happy to second the recommendation.
Okay, happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Attendance by councillors at meeting by audio visual link. There are none. Merrill minute. There is none. Action plans. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Callahan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'd like to move the recommendation that the following action plans be received and noted. 1, action plans completed since previous meeting for noting only. 2, actions awaiting response from external parties. 3, actions in progress. And 4, long-term issues more than 3 months.
Thank you. Councillor Baker.
Happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Callahan, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, do you have a question about this item? No? Resting your elbow. Okay, happy to put that item. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. All right, we're up to CM 7.1, minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 16th of March, 2026. Councillor Bullivant.
Mayor Mac, I move the recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday, the 16th of March 2026 at 6:46 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Glickin.
Happy to second that.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivant, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac.
Okay, appears to be no further question or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, we're up to questions on notice, CM 8. And you have them at 8.1, 8.2 and 8.3. Clearly, they are now public for the public consideration. I don't think we need to move them or second them at this point, so happy to take them as noted. Councillor Callaghan, did you wish to speak to that at all?
Really just to say that thank you to the staff for following up on those questions that we had, but also that the Have Your Say is still currently open for the winter season for the Albury Pool and encouraging people to respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, happy to move on. There's no further questions. We have no reports from community forums. CM 10, no notice of motion or rescission. CM 11, no presentations and deputations. CM 12, no reports. Yes, reports. Yeah, we have reports from committees and working parties. Minutes of the Aboriginal Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 25th of February, 2026. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation that council receives notes and accepts the minutes of the Aboriginal Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 25th of February, 2026.
Thank you. Councillor Baker.
Happy to second, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, did you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac.
Happy to no questions or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 12.2, the minutes of the Sports Albury Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 18th of February. Councillor Callaghan.
I'd like to move the recommendation that council receives notes and accepts the minutes of the Sports Albury Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 18th of February, 2026.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivant.
Happy to second it, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan, did you wish to speak to that at all?
Just briefly, one of the items that was in there was some upcoming events, and last Wednesday, the 15th of April, the Gindamara Sports Carnival was hosted by Mandy Wilson and Josh from our youth team. It was a well-attended event at Bonnie Park. It was well supported by the Albury Police, Albury Wodonga Aboriginal Health Services, Yes Unlimited, and it was just a fantastic event to be at. So congratulations to the team that worked really diligently on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 12.3, the minutes of the Albury Aquatic Facility Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday, the 18th of March. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I move the recommendation that council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Albury Aquatic Facilities Advisory Committee meeting held on Wednesday, 18 March 2026.
Thank you. Seconder, thanks. Councillor Baker.
Happy to second. Thank you, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to speak to that at all?
I do briefly, Mayor Mac,
Yeah.
and also have a question for the staff as well. So the major focus of this committee meeting was receiving feedback from the committee members in relation to the consultation that rose as a result of Councillor Baker's amendment in relation to the winter opening of the Albury Aquatic Facility. So that was a very useful session to receive that feedback from direct representatives of the aquatic user groups and others. And my question to the staff is, how is that consultation progressing? How many responses have we received? Through you to the most relevant member. So.
Ms. Evans-Bart.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Hudson, through you, Mayor Mac. The responses are going really well. We've got over 700 responses to date. We're starting to do some early trend analysis. We're really confident that we'll have an excellent response for councillors, that we can put forward a recommendation, and as Councillor Callaghan notes, it closes on the 24th.
Thank you. Did you have any further questions? Councillor Callaghan, you've got a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mac, to the most relevant staff member. In the report, I suppose given that Lavington Pool has been removed from the 4-year delivery plan in this budget. It says, notes in here, the inspection reconfirms Creo's opinion that the pools have reached their end of useful life and Albury City should consider an asset replacement or closure pathway over the next 2 years. So my question is, where are we really at in that space?
Ms Evans-Bart.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Callaghan. There are a number of investigations that are underway in relation to the Lavington pool. So we will provide councillors with a report, I would say, in the coming months as we go through. We've obviously got processes that are underway and just in terms of refurbishment and alike there for recommendations for the future.
Thank you, Ms. Barr.
Thank you. Okay. I'm happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 12.4, reports from the Business Growth and Community Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 7th of April. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that we include that the recommendations included in the report from the Business Growth and Community Committee meeting held on Tuesday, the 7th of April 2026 at 6 p.m. be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullman.
Happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to speak to that at all?
Thank you. No.
Okay, happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 12.5, the reports from the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting held on Monday, the 13th of April 2026. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that the recommendations included in the report from the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meeting held on Monday, 13 April 2026 at 6:32 p.m. be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullman.
Happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to that one?
Thank you. No.
Okay, happy to put that motion also. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM 13, documents for sealing. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to move the recommendation that council authorises its seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of 2 signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant of Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 and the council seal and management and legal documents and advice procedure. And it's with reference to A, Albury City lease to Albury 1908 Proprietary Limited, trading as Canvas Eatery, 546 Dean Street, Albury, commencing 9 February 2026 to 4 October 2030 with 5-year option. And it's with reference to file number 14/20340. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Wait a second.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Thank you. No.
Happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. We have officer reports for consideration. 14.1, which is risk appetite statements. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I move that Council A approve the draft Albury risk appetite statement and B, receive and note the 2026 Albury City Corporate Strategic Risks Annual Review.
Thank you. Seconded, please. Councillor Bullman.
Happy to second that, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, did you wish to speak to this at all?
No, thank you, Mayor Mac.
Appears to be no question or debate. Happy to move. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 14.2, 26-27 operating and capital budget overview. Mr. McGrath, did you wish to clarify something before we move?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Mayor, there's no page number per se, but in the statement of revenue policy, table 3, in the hard copy version, it makes reference to business village rates and the average assessment. The amount quoted is $1,346, which is correct. If councillors are working off the soft copy version in Docs on Tap, there is an error with that $1,346 figure. It's listed in there at 1,36. And I just want to make it clear that it's 1,346 and that will be corrected in the version that is put on exhibition.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to move the recommendation as a motion that council A, adopt the draft 4-year delivery program 2026 to 2030, the draft 26-27 operational plan, and the draft long-term financial plan. B, endorse the draft budget stakeholder engagement plan. C, place the draft plans on public exhibition for 28 days, concluding on Friday, 22 May and Friday, 22 May 2026. And D, consider any submissions received at the meeting of council to be held on Monday, 15 June 2026, prior to final adoption of the plans.
Thank you. Councillor Bulvin.
Happy to second it, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Gluck, I have someone with a question. You happy to take the question?
Yes, that will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most appropriate member of staff. I have a number of questions. On page 364 of the draft delivery program and operational plan, we're removing footpath / bike path construction program to the tune of 2,100,000 over the 4 years. I'd just like clarification that this will obviously not affect the maintenance of existing footpaths and bike paths, or will it? And will this mean that there'll be literally no more footpaths or bike paths if this draft budget is adopted as the budget in the next 4 years?
Mr. Miller.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor Mac. So that particular budget item is in relation to the footpath capital expansion program. So that's footpaths that sit outside subdivisions. So any new subdivisions that come to council as part of development within the city will still be conditioned with footpaths. Any sort of bike paths in relation to those will also be constructed. Any major projects that council undertakes, such as the Thaguna Link Road, will include active transport routes within that. This program specifically relates to existing developed areas within the city, such as constructed roads already, where footpaths don't exist, where we sort of create more connectivity. So the bulk of our program comes through those new subdivisions. So 80% of the new footpaths that are constructed will still be constructed. It's just that sort of 10 to 20% that come through this program.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may ask supplementary. So there are a great many number of areas of the city that exist already, such as particularly the older part of Albury, Lavington, North Albury, that don't have footpaths. So what we're saying in this draft budget is that we won't be progressing putting footpaths in those areas for the next 4 years at least.
Through you, Mayor Mac, and thank you for the additional question. So within those areas, if we do a road construction, so a full reconstruction of those areas in those older areas, we would still include the footpath. That would be the intention. But footpath projects on their own, that is correct. They would not be progressing in this 4 year period.
May I ask a second question, Mayor Mac?
Sure.
On page 194, there is a retail action plan implementation proposal to the tune of $250,000 in 27-28 and 80,000 in 28-29 for a total of 330,000. For some odd reason, there are no numbers on the page of the second booklet, which is titled the draft fees and charges. Well, it's titled a few things actually. But anyway, under economic development, there's approved financial assistance for 25-26, 341, requested financial assistance for 26-27, 335.02, proposed draft assistance 26-27, and $11,000 less is the change, presumably. And the comment that this is pre-approved funding only, contract with Albury Business Connect and an application of the rate peg to Albury Business Connect. I'm not sure if that should be rate peg, but rather a levy, I understood it to be, but I stand to be corrected, or I'll sit to be corrected. But I would have thought that that's the Central Albury levy, if I've correctly identified it. Point I'm asking is, what's the relationship, if any, between the item of 194 and in the draft budget of 330,000 and the existing money we give to the business community under our, what I understand is a contractual obligation which runs out next year, if that's the case. If the appropriate member of staff could confirm that that contractual obligation ends next year too, please.
Ms Evans-Barr?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Cameron, through you, Mayor Mac. The Albury Connect agreement that we've got does land for rescope at the end of next year. We also have a retail action plan, which needs to be implemented through until 2027. So there's a couple of components to funding. One is the levy, you rightly call that out. So that's funding that comes in that then supports the Business Connect work. And then on top of that, we've got the retail action plan for which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's $130,000, $150,000, which cements the implementation of that plan, which was a council endorsed plan.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at is titled on page 194 is titled Retail Action Plan Implementation. And it's a 4-year total of 330,000, being 250,000 in year 27-28 and 80,000 in year 28-29. I'm not sure, is there a synergy between these things? Are they connected? Are they're completely separate things, are they?
Sorry, my apologies, Mayor Mac. The Retail Action Plan complements the work of Business Connect. Yeah, so it's a strategy that supports Business Connect work. Would you like me to? Well, the Retail Action Plan has a series of actions that are in it that help with business shop fronts. We've had a number of, I guess, concerns say the main street where we've had some vacancies for businesses and the like. So that Retail Action Plan takes into account anything that we need to do in terms of whether it be marketing or signage. There's various activities and actions that happen within that particular plan itself that we need to equip by the 2027 mark.
One final one.
Sure.
So the Retail Action Plan implementation on 194 with a total of 250,000, 27-28 and 28-29, 80,000. Is that sum of money derived from the levy of Central Albury, or is it separate?
Sorry, my apologies, Mayor Mac. Might defer to Ryan for the actual numbers. My understanding is it's a component of two. One is Albury City funding, but the majority coming from the levy.
Mr Hastie?
Thanks for the question through you, Mayor Mac. My understanding is that it is connected, yes, it's part of the levy, but I just need to check that with the Service Leader of Business and Lifestyle.
Thank you. I have 2 more questions, but I'm happy to, are you happy to open debate and then we take the questions, Alice?
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Larkin.
Yeah. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a package, a large body of work that we're proposing that we will put out onto draft consultation for our community to make comment. It is an enormous package of work, actually, and our staff have been putting a lot of time and effort into this. We as councillors have had numerous presentations, many discussions, and lots of questions. And as exhibited by Councillor Cameron just now, it's a suite of packages that have numerous components that work within or go towards each of the packages. So the main 3 packages we're looking at are the 4-year delivery program, the operational plan for next year, but with that we also have details of future years and forecasting. And we're also looking at all of that within the gaze of the long-term financial plan as we continue to grow and develop our city, councillors. And as I've often raised and has often been discussed with the staff, we have had decades of rate caps placed upon us in New South Wales and us as a council. And quite frankly, the costs of running a city have all increased at a much faster rate every year than the rate cap has allowed us to generate our income from our community to undertake the facilities and services to ensure the provision of the required New South Wales government required areas of work that we must do as a local government. And so the staff have highlighted a number of areas where we can make some cost savings and again attempt to provide a really large body of work for our community, but being careful in the way in which we do that. We are a growing city. We're a regional city that provides facilities and services that our surrounding local government entities do not provide or do not have. That regional community that come to us on a regular basis utilise the facilities and services that we have. We have an airport. There are very few airports between us, or commercial airports between us and Melbourne, or us and Sydney, us and Adelaide. As a regional city, we provide these facilities and services. Yes, they cost us and our community, but we wouldn't have those facilities and services if we were not a large regional centre. So we need to ensure that our community has access to these things, which they demonstrate they want, and our regional community does. In essence, we support our regional community and our regional community benefits us. We benefit from those facilities and services. There are a significant number of projects that are underway. There are an even greater number of projects that we've highlighted into the future. There are many related to the core services of council, including, as some councillors like to talk about on a regular basis, the roads, rates and rubbish. And all of us actually do rely on those facilities and services. I do recall a general manager soon after I arrived as a new councillor referring to when people flush their toilet button, they expect what's in the toilet to be taken away. And all of our community would be very disappointed if our essential facilities and services didn't function. The program is that, or the process is that we make the program for the next 4 years available to our community, and they can, through the public exhibition process, and they can make comment to us. We encourage our community to look at the draft plans and to provide us with feedback. Clearly, there'll be further discussion by the councillors in meetings to come, but in essence, we as a council need to ensure that we provide what our community need, but also what our community want. And this is our effort to provide our community with our plan for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Questions, Councillor Callaghan?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, to the most relevant staff member. My understanding, it's in relation to the Young Street land use strategy. My understanding is that there's already been 250,000 spent on a comprehensive study of the opportunities at Young Street received through the regional deal. So I'd say that's a substantial investment already been spent, and it was referred to as being the Justice Precinct. I think that's an interchangeable name as far as I'm concerned. My question is, why is it necessary to spend a further $150,000 on a land use strategy, bringing that up to an investment of $400,000 when we've already done it?
Ms Evans-Barr.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Callaghan. Through you, Mayor Mac. May I take that on notice and just come back to you? My apologies.
Further follow-up?
Yeah, I just have a question in regards to the Country Passenger Transport Infrastructure Grants Scheme on page 57. It's a big one. Yeah, I'm just hoping there can be some clarification around the budget and the income received in this space. So firstly, in the 4-year DP, it was stated that we had $780,000 of income being grant funding, which now doesn't appear. So it was actually for years 27 through to 29. And that doesn't seem to be evident in this 4-year DP. The current budget also states that it is for 5 bus seats and 2 bus shelters at a cost of $532,000. It just seems like a lot of money for little infrastructure. I was hoping you can have some clarification, please.
Ms. Leopold.
Yeah, okay. I can talk a little bit about the program. I don't have the background on the previous grant funding and why that's no longer showing, so I'll check if Mr. Millett has that, but no. So yes, you're right in terms of what it intends to deliver. I would say that the $532,000 is an estimate. You can see that there's $200,000 held in the 3rd year and the 4th year of the program. So that's basically us holding an intention to deliver this infrastructure, but it's not yet at the phase where we've got design and gone out to tender and understand cost estimates. At the end of the day, it is a placeholder to make that investment in line with our obligations. However, you know, if council chooses to reduce that amount, that's something that we can work with in the finalisation of the budget. But again, it won't deliver then what is outlined there in the budget.
So just for clarification, that $532,500 is for 5 bus seats and 2 bus shelters?
Mr. Millett. Sounds like it.
Hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah, so the reference to the 5 bus stops and 2 bus shelters is in relation to the year 1 of the program. So year 1 of the program has already secured funding, and that is the deliverables of that funding. Within CP TIGs, there's maximum funding that you're allowed to different types of projects. So bus shelters, it's a maximum of $20,000 per bus shelter. With the infrastructure paths and the like, the directional, trying to think of the right terminology we use these days, for the blind people to find their way. Tactile. Sorry, this is not my area. So
That's right.
the tactiles, there's maximum $4,500 for those types of projects. So the reason that council puts funding is so that we can actually do a full project and fully fund it to the best of the abilities of that program. Deputy CEO is correct in that those year 3 and 4 is in relation to future potential projects that come up within that program. So it could be that other levels of government don't actually provide that grant opportunity in the future, but we do need to have funding to help supplement the projects so that we can get best value for money.
I just want to follow up, if I may. I do think bus shelters and bus stops are a great asset for the community. However, I suppose my real question is around the clarification around the $780,000 of grant funding that it looked like we had that is no longer represented in the budget on page 57. But take that on notice.
Yeah, it's through you, Mac. Yeah, I'm not aware of that either, so we'll take that element on notice.
And follow up?
Thank you. No,
No, all done.
oh, that's questions. Might come back.
Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I have a number of questions, so through to the most relevant member of staff. Page 114, Thurgoona Link Road, stages 1 to 4. My question is, what portion of the funding shown in the 4-year delivery plan relates specifically to stage 4?
Ms. Leopold.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Hudson, and through you, Mayor Mac. We do have a breakdown. I just don't have it on hand tonight, but we have a breakdown of the various stages, the indicative funding, and how we are organising that funding. So we have various grant funding we've attracted from both Commonwealth and state. We have developer contributions and our own as well. So I would need to take that on notice to provide a detailed table if that's what you're looking for. No problems.
Follow up in relation to that. The stage 4 is sitting with the Commonwealth awaiting a determination under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act because of the significant impact it would have on the Gilgai wetland and the Sloane's Froglet habitat, and that application is sitting with the landowner, I understand. Essentially, this is a road that we don't know that could ever be built, and if it is, we don't know how much it will cost and what other requirements the Commonwealth may put on its construction and with regards to environmental mitigation. I suppose my question is, how much money effectively have we got tied up in the long-term financial plan in relation to a stage of a road that we don't know that we can ever actually build? And what are the opportunity costs associated with having that money there?
Ms. Leopold?
Thank you for the question. I don't think there's too much more I can add to my previous response. You are correct that the application doesn't sit with council, it's with the landowner. Certainly the strategic intent around connectivity through that area remains the same, and we'll have to continue to address the project over time, depending on the approvals required to get through those stages.
Yeah.
The development control plan review, sorry, I don't have a page number. I believe the budgeted amount is 200,000. Given that many strategies which feed into the development control plan, for example, the East Albury Industrial Precinct Master Plan, are of equal or greater value in the budget, $200,000 for a comprehensive review of the entire development control plan doesn't seem like a great deal of money. And so I just was hoping to question the quantum of money. Obviously, I believe that the DCP review is sorely needed. It just seems like a shockingly small amount of money given the money we spend on other master plans and strategies that feed into it.
Mr. Christie?
Yep. Thank you for the question, and for you, Mayor Mac. So a couple of the other studies that you referenced, like the East Albury Master Plan, etc., do require some specialist studies to assist with those. When it comes to development control plan review, generally don't require the same extent of specialist studies that we don't have in-house expertise for. So when it comes to development control plan review, we'll be able to undertake a number of those works for that in-house. So therefore, there's less need for us to import some of that expertise, which is needed for some of those strategies and master plans, which are in more detail about specific sites.
Okay, great. Thank you. One final question. The walking and cycling improvement plan, which we have budgeted 50,000 in this year's budget, would we expect that construction of new footpaths and cycle paths would be necessary to improve our walking and cycling network in the city? I don't want to preempt the results of that review, but.
Ms. Leopold?
Okay.
You put your hand up.
Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you for the question through you, Mayor Mac. So the intention is about largely about connectivity, but also about helping us with the prioritisation of walking and the cycling network. So this will help us with areas of footpath prioritisation as well, over how council invests in its assets over time. So whether it would result in new ones, I think I'd have to check how the plan is focusing on that. But at this stage, the intention is about creating the network in a prioritised fashion. Mr. Millett, did you have anything further to add?
Mr. Millett?
I'm still on, yep. So in relation to Councillor Cameron's previous question, it relates back to that program. So it will help identify the priorities that we have, and the reason it's sort of gone across from the assets team to the city transport is it's in relation to the delivery of the MOVE strategy, and it's really trying to target the areas where we get the biggest bang for our buck in moving people around the city and promoting active transport. It will be prioritising those works, and so when council's in a financial position to be able to invest in the growth of that infrastructure, we'll certainly have a good idea on where we should be investing.
Thank you. You essentially preempted my question, which was, is it counterproductive to do that and then not budget any money for additional expansion of that network? But that's fine. You've answered that. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, I'm sorry, Mayor Mac, through you to the most appropriate member of staff. On what I have now deduced is page 3 on the unnumbered pages. The financial assistance financial year 26-27, the second item, community organisation, which if we very adroitly change the page, we'll see is for Mama Limited Transition. So basically, this is an amount of money which I deduce is available to us, which wasn't previously available or budgeted for the transition of Mama to some sort of quasi-independent body that was intended. Council resolved not to do that, as has been discussed elsewhere, and this provides us with a amount of money, a windfall, if you would have, of $2,430,699.66 removal of the $2.4 million funding allocation. But I'm completely unable to interpret the other figures. So the approved financial assistance of $2,986,515 for 25-26. We're now deducting $2,430,669 from that, are we? And so that the amount remaining will be $555,846. Can someone elucidate me on that, please? Am I reading that correctly? Well, draft financial assistance. When you say the next report.
It's yeah. Item 14.3 is draft is in infrastructure and financial assistance.
So it's not here.
In the next.
Okay, and will it provide us the information then on how much we're providing to Mama in this draft budget?
We can ask him to provide
Yeah, did you want to ask it now?
Oh,
Miss Khan?
Thank you. Thank you for the question through you, Mayor Mac.
Microphone, thanks.
Thank you for the question and through you, Mayor Mac. Apologies, I just trying to find exactly the sheet you were looking at. The 2.4 million, which was part of the funding for Mama, which is no longer allocated to Mama, shows the difference in what was allocated to the budget in previous years versus this year. So that is that saving in terms of the difference between the 2 years. And certainly predominantly as financial assistance for Mama Limited was at the time meant to reflect what was being spent by Albury City. So if Mama Limited was not in force, the Albury City budget for Mama would be utilising that same amount. However, over the past few months, and certainly in the last year, Mama, the entity within Albury City, has been working on increasing savings and reducing the amount. So the 2.4 million is not what Mama currently would spend in its operational budget.
Through you, Mayor Mac. So the approved budget was $2,986,515. The windfall, I'll call it, if you don't mind me using that term, is $2,430,669,000. So what's the $555,846? Are we still spending that amount, or what are we spending it on though? If we're not going with the development of Mama into Mama Inc., then where's that money going?
Yep. Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor Mac. The $555,000 is the funding for continuous or multi-year COS, community organisational support agreements. So Mama funding was part of the greater community organisational support stream. Mama has been taken out, but we have other programs which have got multi-year agreements which we're still finalising and finishing.
Okay, so clearly the total cost of Mama is not 555,846, obviously. How much does Mama cost Albury City ratepayers each year in kind and in cash?
Mr Hasty?
Thanks for the further question through you, Mayor Mac. The new base budget for Mama as an operating entity within Albury City for next year is $2.5 million, 2.449, so 2.5. That's the operating budget.
And as the acting general manager has suggested, is that contained in the next report, that figure?
Thank you for the further question. So that's this number makes part of the 26-27 base budget. So essentially it's been removed out of financial assistance and it's been contained as part of the Albury City budget. So yes, it's part of our general fund deficit with all of our other teams. That number is funded through operations.
What I'm seeking to understand respectfully is where is that allocation of money contained in this draft budget?
Thank you for the question. So in the community in place, there's a few sheets as an attachment, which is the by cluster operations, like operating budget per cluster. So within the community in place operations, that money is being spent within that cluster, if that answers your question.
And just to recap, that amount is $2.5 million.
Correct.
And how does that compare, if you have the information, to the previous financial year?
So thank you for the question. So last year's actuals, previous year's actuals was 2.1.
2.1. So it's an increase of 0.4 million. And finally, do we have figures available, and you may not be respectfully able to answer this, but I hope someone can. What were the total visitation numbers for Mama in the last financial year?
Ms Code?
Thank you for the question. The Mama visitation numbers I will be able to provide to you in an email, or if you just give me a moment, because I do have them documented. I just need to give them to you. However, Mama visitation has gone back to the days pre-COVID. We have high visitation, but give me a few minutes and I'll just be able to exactly confirm the right amount for you.
I'm happy to receive that by email, but when this question was asked last year, we were told that those figures weren't available. Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Callaghan, and the Speaker for.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. My observation is that external consulting features largely throughout the budget process. And whilst I absolutely support actionable items for the MOVE strategy, I really do question $515,000 dedicated to external consultants. My question is, can this be done in-house? And if not, what are we doing to upskill our staff and workforce to be able to do that rather than going out to external consultation? Thank you.
Ms Leopold?
Thanks for the question, Councillor Callaghan, and through you, Mayor Mac. So there are a number of MOVE initiatives currently highlighted in the 4-year DP. One that is currently identified for external consultants, but we've recently reviewed, is the laneway management plan. Should that go ahead, we believe we have sufficient expertise and capacity internally to do that. The Develop Walking and Cycling Network Improvement Program is already outsourced, and the remaining $50,000 is the final part of the contract that's to be paid. The movement and place corridor reviews does talk about external consultants. At this stage, I don't believe we do have capacity internally to be able to run the review across those major corridors that are highlighted as part of that work. Finally, the placemaking Thurgoona Central Business District. I don't believe this one included outsourcing.
I believe it says external consultant.
Where is that?
Page 188. Yep, it says will engage external consultants to complete feasibility assessment.
That's
That's in place.
yeah. So I didn't believe that.
Thank you. And I don't know, I hadn't highlighted that one, so it was just part of that strategy. And my final one, if I may, I'm sure you all expected it, is Butt Street.
Butterfall joke.
I understand that this project has been moved to year 3 of the delivery program. However, the street, being 25 of the 30 residents that live there, have been very clear in their stance that they don't want this project to happen. I'm suggesting that there are roads with higher volumes of traffic that are in far worse condition that may benefit from remediation works, and the money could be better spent somewhere else. My question is, how is Albury City Council triaging critical roads, and can that list be shared in a transparent way for our communities so we know what's coming?
Mr. Millett.
I suppose what I'll do is talk through. Yeah, I suppose I'll give you just a bit of a handle on how we actually develop the 4-year delivery program. So just bear with me. Just I go through a sort of a general answer. So every 4 years we go out to, unfortunately, an external consultant to give us an independent review of our asset conditions for road infrastructure. Now, the reason we go out to an external consultant is because of the resourcing, the experience, the technology, and the equipment that you're required to do that assessment. So it's more efficient to do that externally with a company that has that capacity, has the function to do that. It also gives us an arm's length explanation, arm's length view on the condition of our road infrastructure. That essentially gives us a list from the worst to the best. We then take that information, we couple that with information that we collect internally. We collect that information from our CRMs that come in through our customer request system. We get that through our road maintenance crews that go out and do work. We do that from our asset engineers who do their own inspections as well. We get that from petitions from people as well. All of that information gets put in. We then go with our asset engineers and our city works department who sort of maintain the roads. We go out and look at the top 20 of them. Now I'm just sort of saying a number for illustration purposes. They then go through that. They look at them. They do another assessment of that asset, of those assets. They look at, okay, what's the condition of the road pavement? What's the condition of the road seal? What's the curb and gutter look like? Do we have stormwater infrastructure in there? Do we have footpaths? Are the trees impacting on any of those assets? All of that. Is there connectivity of that network to other areas? All of that information is taken, and then we put an internal project proposal together. We put that into our project management system, and then we get together and we bring all of the subject matter experts together. That includes the roads people, includes our environment people, includes our stormwater infrastructure, a whole range of people that come in and provide their input into it. That then helps us categorise what the next steps for that particular road are. That could be that we just continue maintaining it, fill in the potholes, do heavy patching and the like, come in and replace, and you might see sometimes that we go and replace 20 metres of curb. So it might be that we just go replace that curb, that saves the payment, and we'll do that work. But it might also identify that we want to do reseal work, rehabilitation, where we take the top of the road off, we stabilise the underlying pavement, and then we put an asphalt seal back on. Or it might be different sorts of approaches that we take. But that group of subject matter experts come together to decide what the most appropriate treatment is. Through all that process, that's what we present to you as part of the budget. So we've take on board that sometimes members of the public have a different view of that, but we go through this process utilising the skills and knowledge of both internal and external staff to present what we put into the draft budget for your consideration.
And what about the visibility of that list?
Thank you for the further question. Look, that's something that we consider, but we're always trying to make our decision processes more transparent. What I can take on is looking at the most appropriate ways of doing that. So there's different, it's a complex process. So just putting a list out without the context behind it could be counterproductive in itself. So what I'd say is that, yeah, we're always trying to be more transparent and more clear and in our decision making, but that needs to be a productive process as well.
Mr. McGrath, did you have something to add?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just one additional point to this, because I have seen in other organisations where a long-term works program is effectively put out, but it does create an expectation in the minds of residents, particularly in some locations. And the point that I would add to what Mr. Millett has contributed is that process that he's just described is reviewed every few years, and sometimes because of environmental conditions and other circumstances, the priorities can change in a subsequent program. So if you've built an expectation and then have to wind it back, that can be as problematic as not having it out there, if I can put it that way. But nevertheless, we can look at how we can build a program that might develop some awareness.
Mr. Miller?
And if you want to sort of just work with me here, I can provide a personal anecdote from working at Albury City. I started here in 2002. For the first 5 years of my work here, working in asset management, I was dealing with a number of letters that were sent out to residents. It was probably 10 years worth of work where I was dealing with letters that were sent out to residents that outlined in 2005-6, your road will be reconstructed. I was still receiving some letters back to council in relation to that works program 10 years after that fact. So just backing up the deputy, the interim CEO, is that's lived experience here at Albury City.
Okay.
One follow-up question.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Millett. I can't seem to find the page, but I have a question about some drainage works in Hamilton Valley at the back of the court. I can't find the street number.
Lexington Court.
Is it Lexington Court?
To you, Mayor Mac,
Page
that'd be
66, is it?
behind Lexington Place
Lexington Place.
or court.
What's to do with the retardation base?
Correct. My question is around this, and I've had a look at where it is and what it looks like, and I understand it to be the pond at the back of the homes there, and you can see that there's a water flow easement that's been created to capture any additional water. I suppose my question is, was this something that was done, because it's not an old development, was this something that was done as part of the development that isn't sufficient and now the community are bearing the costs of this? Or I just probably want some clarity around it because it's in the order of $500,000.
Mr. Miller?
Through you, Mayor Mac, the incident that led to the requirement for this work was a declared natural disaster in 2020. That found a weak spot within existing infrastructure, essentially. So in a perfect world, this infrastructure would have worked as intended, but through a natural disaster event, the infrastructure didn't cope with it, and we've identified a solution for that. So is this remediating the current pond that should perhaps be a retarding basin at the back of the homes? Is that what the plan is? Because it's hard to decipher, So through you, Mayor Mac, so the work is to ensure that the point of discharge from that existing pond goes down the intended flow path. Okay. Should this have been something that was done by the developer at the time? Through you, Mayor Mac, thank you for the intended. So just let me highlight that it was a natural disaster event in 2020 where stormwater infrastructure can't be expected to cope with the flow. Because of that event, we've identified works that we can do that can help prevent further impact. Now, it won't, and I'm going to be careful here, it won't necessarily fix every event, but it'll improve the events that we're having impact on our residents.
Thank you, Mr Miller.
Yeah, just to value add to that, I spoke with the floodplain committee on Friday or Thursday, one of those days ending in Y, and we discussed that project. And the existing basin was created by the developer, but it's due to that event has been found that it needs further rectification. So it's just part of that process. The capital works need to occur. And there's two others up there that have been inspected or something that are also part of the process. We need to ensure that our residents are safe. Councillor Bullivan, did you wish to speak for the item?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I would expect that most of my fellow councillors have been waiting for me to weigh in on this little budget operation, but a business like this is a particularly big moving beast. There's a lot of moving parts to it that happen every single day. And I'll take Councillor Callaghan's point before about training in training our staff. Yes, I get that we'll be trying to train our staff, and sometimes we've got to use consultants. And like you, I'm not a great fan of consultants because I see the cost of it, but sometimes we've got to use consultants because they're subject matter experts in what they deal in. So we've got to use them to get part of our business going forward. Our budget is a long-term financial plan. We've asked our staff to make cuts in areas that operations and things like that, but we've got to provide a service to our public. And Councillor Glacken said before, using one of our councillors use roads, rates and rubbish. Well, that's me most of the time because fundamentally that's what we do. We are a service provider to our community, and that's part of our service. So we've given our staff the opportunity to come up with a long-term budget plan to get us where we need to go. There's a few projects in there that we've got to maintain, especially infrastructure projects. It's imperative that we get those done. Yes, things are tight, I get that, but we've got to take our staff's plans and give them latitude in what they do with it, because that's their jobs. As I was saying when I first come to council, that it's operational, it doesn't concern you, but I think with the relationship we've built with the staff over the last 15 to 16 months, that we do get a bit of insight in what's going on around the city, and we're allowed to have a little bit of input in some of the things, but I think overall we've got to make sure that we get the budget right and get our planning right and go forward and get the city operating where it needs to be.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron speaking against.
Thanks, Mayor Mac. I ran for council in 2012. I'd previously done a term in the 90s, 95 onwards. The reason I ran for council in 2012 was because of the fact of special rate variations, which had been introduced by the council at that time. I have never believed that special rate variations should be necessary. I've always believed that council could live within its means financially. And sadly, in the crisis, and it is a crisis that we're now in, there is advocacy, informally and formally, around preparing for special rate variations under the pretext, I might add, that we're not necessarily going to do it. Well, I know I'll be opposing it in every way. And while we are a council that develops draft budgets, and this is why I cannot support this draft budget, that says, look, we can't give community assistance grants. We have no money. We have no available money. And we have to tell people like Narelle and Ray from the Hothouse Theatre that we don't have money to give them. We have to tell other very worthy community groups that we don't have money to give you, as you'll hear later tonight. But we're still willing to give money and provide money and funnel ratepayers' money to members of the business community in Central Albury and Albury generally, which I've always been opposed to. While that is considered not only an acceptable practice, but a normal practice, at the same time, we're resolving that we're not going to build a number of new footpaths, which surely is a core function of council. I think our priorities are very wrong. I do not blame the staff for this. The staff work within the parameters that are set for them by the councillors. And I've got to take issue with some of the comments that Councillor Bullivant just made. For a start, the Code of Practice makes it very clear that councillors are not to be involved in staff operational matters. That is, operational matters affecting individual staff members. The Act makes it very clear that councillors bear a responsibility and bear all the responsibility to the community for the actions of council. Accordingly, there are no actions of council excluding staff operational matters that councillors should not be involved in, councillors should not be informed of, and councillors should not take action over. But as a group of councillors over the preceding years and since 2012, we have not paid enough attention or kept a close enough rein on the financial directions of this council. Accordingly, we are where we are today, where we have a very large deficit, a structural deficit. We are struggling to find ways to reduce that, and the spectre of a special rate variation is very real. What I would say to the people of Albury is be aware of this consultation period. Don't just sit there and cop it. Push back, identify the things in this budget that are not acceptable to you, and understand that tonight is not the final form of the budget for the next 12 months. Likewise, when I believe inexorably the discussion around special rate variation will occur, which is provided for in this budget for a consultant, no less, a consultant to come in and shop the idea about, then the people of Albury must resist and must push back in a very firm way, or they will be subjected to additional special rate variations as they were after 2012. I always said that Mama would break this council. I've always been implacably opposed to it, not because I don't love the arts, I do like the arts, but because I understood that the promises made around philanthropic funding and the other pie in the sky talk that went on would never come to fruition and would always be a bigger financial cost to this council than could be borne. And I warned at the time, if people care to examine the record, that we should build a new art gallery, but it should not be anything of the scale that Mama turned out to be. We were living beyond our means then, and it has helped in a very significant way, as you've heard tonight, to contribute to the predicament we're in now. In my view, there should be no special rate variation while we continue to operate operations that are other than the core functions of council. And if we have to close some facilities, that's sad and it's unpleasant, but it may well be necessary, but it's preferable to inflicting intergenerational financial trauma on the people of Albury. Thanks.
Right to 9 seconds. Well done. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mack, and thanks to all the councillors that asked questions of the budget. And I would like to stress what Councillor Glacken stressed when she moved it. This is a draft budget. It's going out for community consultation and feedback. I'd like to commend the staff for the hard work they've put in to get to this point. It's tough, but it's fair, and I think the priorities are probably where we need them. So I commend this draft budget to the councillors, and hopefully we can get to vote on it soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson speaking for, no one speaking against.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I want to begin by also acknowledging the significant work that the staff have put into developing this draft budget. It's clear this hasn't been an easy task. Difficult decisions have been made in a very constrained financial environment, and I recognise that the staff are working to balance council's responsibilities, its financial sustainability, and the community's expectations. It's never an easy process to put the council budget together, and I dare say this year has been harder than most. So I do support the budget going out for public exhibition and consultation, but I do want to make it clear that's not the same as supporting the budget itself. I think one area that the budget is moving in the right direction is the shift towards asset renewal over generational projects. A stronger focus on renewing our existing assets before we build large-scale one-off projects is both financially responsible and necessary to ensure that we're not leaving a growing maintenance burden for future councils and future ratepayers. And so I think that's a sensible recalibration. But ultimately, a budget is a statement of priorities, and it reflects what we choose to invest in, what we choose to defer, and what we choose to do without. So on that basis, and with all due respect to the work of the staff, I don't believe this draft budget gets those priorities right. We often talk in this chamber about accessibility and inclusion, and yet, as Councillor Cameron has pointed out, this budget removes all funding for new footpath construction at a time when we know that many parts of our city still lack safe, connected walking infrastructure. This is a significant step backwards. Pardon the pun. We talk about encouraging active transport and creating safer and more connected options for walking and cycling and giving people transport choice. Yet when you look at the capital program, The imbalance is abundantly clear. Investment in roads continues to dominate at over $47 million in the four-year delivery program, not including the $12 million road and drain rehabilitation fund, while our spending on active transport, including footpath rehabilitation over the next 4 years, is not even 1/12 that amount. And a lot of what funding there is tied up in reviews and strategies, as pointed out by Councillor Callaghan, and not on tangible improvements. So at a time when we've got a war in the Middle East that's driving up the cost of fuel, we are embedding car dependency in our city when we should be doing the opposite. And so to me, this raises real questions about whether our budget, whether our priorities align with the goals that we've set. We've adopted an urban forest strategy and spoken at length about the importance of urban canopy, cooling our suburbs, and addressing heat vulnerability as a matter of amenity, human health, and social equity. But where is the meaningful implementation funding to deliver that strategy at scale? $300,000 over 4 years with zero allocated in this budget is simply not good enough, in my view. Without that investment, the strategy risks remaining largely aspirational and not achieving the things that it is meant to do. And perhaps most concerningly is what is happening to community funding, which we will address in the next item. But this budget significantly reduces allocations across community, environment, events, sports, and recreation. Many programs are proposed to be cut entirely. And these are the very programs that support grassroots organisations, they build social connection, and they contribute to the life and the livability of our city. So the total operating expenses for the general fund for 26-27 is about $146 million. And yes, our deficit is around $18 million. But $25,000 in community and cultural grants is gone. $100,000, the entire land management incentive program, which is funding that we give to landowners in order to improve the environmental and the biodiversity conditions of that land, is gone. Yes, we need to find savings, and the staff have, but those two projects, which together represent a substantial portion of our financial assistance budget, they amount to 0.69% of that deficit and 0.08% of the overall operating expenses for this financial year. That is a rounding error on the balance sheet, but it has real, tangible, long-term impacts to our city. The financial assistance funding that we provide is small in dollar terms compared to our major infrastructure projects, but the impact to the community is just as significant. When these programs are reduced or removed, the effects are felt immediately by the groups, the volunteers, and the community that they benefit. So these are not minor adjustments. These represent a real shift in priorities, and it's a shift that I do not agree with. But that's precisely why community consultation is so important. This is ultimately the community's budget. It shapes the services they rely on, the infrastructure they use, and the kind of city that we're building together. So if they have concerns about the priorities, about the balance, if there are things in there that have been included or left out, now is the time for those views to be heard. I really strongly encourage members of our community to engage with this process. Read the documents. Yes, they're long. Yes, they're boring. No offense to Mr. Hasty and his team. But this is the city that we're talking, your city that we're talking about. So ask questions, send councillors emails, and make a submission. Whether you support what's proposed or not, we need to hear about it. So I know that as councillors, we will be open to that feedback and prepared to reflect on it before we adopt the final budget in June. So as I said, I don't support this draft budget in its current form, but I do support putting it out to the community for consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Speaking against, Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. When I look at this year's budget and also the 4-year DP, we are very rightly staring down the barrel of a special rate variation in the order of 42%. And if we don't act, that's what will happen. Albury City Council and councillors need to be demonstrating to the community that we've taken every possible step to reduce that possibility from happening. I appreciate that there have been projects that have been removed, and you can read them in the back of the booklet. Thus far, staff have worked very hard to get to this point, but I can see that there is more work to be done to really identify what's critical to our community. In one of our most recent surveys, Albury City Services, What's Important to You, our community have already identified those key areas, and that should be our focus. Things like road maintenance upgrade, infrastructure supporting population growth, repair to roads, maintenance of our parks and gardens, cleaning of our town centres, provision of footpaths, our libraries and parks and playgrounds. We need to listen to the community. Only recently, through this study, I can identify that the construction of footpaths have been removed. 90% of our community said that that was critical to them. Cleaning of our town centres isn't an item in the budget. It was in our last year four-year DP, it was removed. It's something that the community want, and we're hearing from them. Only today I received from a business owner, and I got photos of all the rubbish down the street and spilling out of bins. This is what our community see on a daily basis, and that's where they want change. There are many nice to have items in this budget, many of which I have previously endorsed. However, in light of our financial situation, I now question the validity. I expect the community to question the validity of some of these projects as well. And as I've mentioned, external consulting features largely throughout the budget, which I believe needs to be addressed. From what I've identified, there is in the order of $1,235,000 worth of reviews, plans and strategies for projects we can't afford to deliver in the near future, rather than tangible projects our community will see. So I ask our community, is this the best use of ratepayers' money? This asks the community to fix a problem that they didn't create and leads us down the path of an SRV. We need to get real, and whilst there has been difficult decisions made, we need to get tougher. At risk of survey fatigue, I too encourage the community to provide feedback about what they believe is business critical, because it will determine what our next steps are post-June and what an SRV will look like for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. There are no further speakers for or against. So I'd just like to finish up by bringing it to everyone's attention that as a councillor group and as staff, the last 17 months have been quite horrific when it comes to a whole major number of events that have occurred, but this one particularly, trying to put a budget together with the limitations on our meeting codes of practice and the ways we can do business has just been impossible. And it's a credit to the staff that we've been able to find the opportunities to have the presentations and do what we can do to pull together a budget for our shareholders who are our community. But more importantly, I think to Councillor Cameron's point, no one likes a special rate variation. I think, again, I've already been in discussion with the communication team to talk to the community about what that looks like, because they're the ones as the shareholders that will make that decision. And as to Councillor Hudson's point and Councillor Callaghan's points, yes, the community have a say, and like everything else, this is a major budget, this is a major deficit, and we're not taking it for granted. The community need to guide us to make the right decisions on their behalf. And if those right decisions include that they want this, this, and this, and that costs more money that we can't find, special rate variations are part of the conversation. But again, it's up to our shareholders to understand that the cost of living, the cost of doing business has quadrupled since COVID and beyond. And for various reasons, we are at the place we are at because we've provided all the wonderful regional facilities that we currently have. It's not to say we can't continue to prosper. It just means we need to take a short break and certainly consider our position and maintain the efficacy of our general fund. So to that point, I really do applaud the staff because they've done a fantastic job putting this budget and making it available to our community for consideration. And like everything else, a masterpiece isn't a masterpiece until it has criticism, and everyone sees it from a different perspective. And I think I really do applaud the staff and the councillors because it's been an arduous process. And to the points of some of the councillors made, people are going to be unhappy, but part of that unhappiness is further down the track we'll have the opportunity to fill their expectations with positive outcomes. But right now, we just need to do what we can do with what we've got. So well done to the team and well done to the councils. I think you've done a fantastic job. Councillor Glacken, do you wish to close?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would like to offer a few closing comments, and thank you very much for your acknowledgement of why it is we would, should we need to, and agree to be requesting a special rates variation. And that would be because the costs of the facilities and services that we look after, the operating of those facilities and services has increased at a greater rate than the rates cap has allowed us to generate over decades. Every year, council goes backwards in real terms. And I know that none of us would like to have a special rates variation unless we know that we need that special rates variation. Justification alone is there in the concept that the costs to council for the facilities and services to operate those facilities and services have increased at a far greater rate across decades than the rate cap has allowed us to generate. We are a growing city. The work of council doesn't stop, and nor should it. I'm conscious of the fact that Councillor Hudson made reference to, and so did Councillor Callaghan, that there are no new footpaths, or all new footpaths in the budget have been removed. That's not true. That is not true. We've been told by the staff that footpaths will still be included under certain parameters. And repairs to footpaths would also still be included. We've had that information tonight. It is important that we as a council continue to have master planning done, to have plans developed, and to continue the work that is the planning towards various components of projects. Because if we stop all of that work, then the work of council will not continue. We have to prepare on the basis that the council will undertake that work or make a decision that we will not. Unless we undertake the planning, we can't make those decisions because we will not have the appropriate information with which to make those decisions. And nor would we have projects ready to undertake should there be grants available within the community of New South Wales or indeed federally. So there are a number of plans that we undertake on an annual basis, noting that we may be able to attract some funding. There are always projects and areas. Councillor Cameron has highlighted a couple of areas that he doesn't support here at council. Councillors Callaghan and Hudson have raised some areas that they are disappointed that we won't be able to fund this year, or they're not funded in the draft delivery program or operational plan. All of us have areas that we would like to have funded, just as our community always have areas that they would like us to increase or indeed cut from our program. Fortunately, the staff have, over a number of years, been able to progress the plans so that the most appropriate elements within our city are brought forward to us for consideration to be undertaken and to be funded within our budgets. They are the experts in their own fields. They know the roads that we need to maintain above others. They know the areas where we can hold a road for an extra year or two. They have that information. Yes, they often need to seek external assistance from consultants because the consultants have the equipment that we need to undertake the assessment of those roads and footpaths. But it is our staff who are able to put all of that together to determine the priority listing of the roads. And I do fully acknowledge the issue, as I was on council when some of the situations that have arisen were relayed tonight, when members of our community wondered and continually asked why their road had been moved from the 4-year list to the 8-year list, why their road wasn't being undertaken in a certain year. Quite rightly, because they had been told that their road would be done at a certain time. Clearly, situations arise, and we've heard of one of those. Councillor Callaghan asked a question about that tonight, about the drainage area in Hamilton Valley. That is a classic example of something changes, something unexpected happens, and the priority needs to be changed. That is a good example as to why it is that we can only take our plans out so far forward. We allocate over a greater period of time the overall generic amounts that we would allocate to various areas, but the actual list of the work to be undertaken is retained somewhat so that we can refocus those as we move forward. A number of councillors have confirmed when speaking for or against this recommendation tonight, or this motion tonight, that it is a draft set of plans, and it is indeed a draft set of plans. No doubt we will hear from our community, and it will be good to have their feedback, but the reality is each of us would want to add products and areas back into the budget, and each of us would have a list of things that we would cut in a heartbeat. As a group of councillors, it will be interesting to see where we land, and that will be based on the feedback that we have. Hopefully, a greater component of the feedback we have from our community than our preconceived ideas that we come to the chamber with already. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. .3, the draft financial assistance budget 26-27. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Hudson,
I have a question. I'm not.
didn't want to move it?
No, that's.
Councillor Gleichen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to move the recommendation as a motion that Council A endorse the overall draft 26-27 financial assistance budget as shown in the financial assistance budget's schedule, including I, Community Infrastructure Fund 210,000, consisting of A, Tabletop Community Centre 10,000 in kind, B, Hockey Albury Wodonga 200,000 10-year interest-free loan, contingent on the application achieving grant funding. C, Lavington Tennis and Pickleball Club, $26,377. 2, community organisation support 40,000, consisting of A, Murray Arts 20,000, B, Albury Wodonga Regional Food Share 20,000, and B, place the draft financial assistance budget schedule on the public exhibition as part of the Albury City's 2026-27 draft operational plan and 4-year delivery program. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Councillor Gleichen, do you wish to open debate on that? I have a question.
I'm very happy to have the question. Yeah.
Councillor Hudson, question?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. My question relates simply to the wording of the motion. Why is it that we are endorsing in point A as opposed to adopting as per the previous motion?
Mr. McGrath.
I think not dissimilar. It's actually part of the draft budget for 26-27. So similar to putting the budget documents on exhibition, this is a part of the overall financing for 26-27. So it makes sense to engage. You get feedback from the community once again.
No, sorry, I understand that. I just, related to the wording. Okay. In the previous, in the motion 14.2,
One says endorse, one says adopt.
Terminology.
is it
Mr.
just
McGrath?
I think it might be semantics. It's probably just terminology between report authors. They're two different report authors. The intent is the same.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, did you wish to open debate?
Thank you. Really, a lot of the comments that I'll make are very similar to the previous set of draft papers and reports. We're asking our community to provide us with feedback. Yes, there have been comments already made by councillors when we were talking about the last draft set of plans that really refer to this. We have a limited amount of funding. We are trying to allocate that funding to essential and critical services. This is an area where we have external organisations seeking funding from us as council. The reality is these are external organisations. However, they do undertake components that are related to the work of council, support the work of council because they support our community. And as I said earlier, there are community groups that each of us would love to add into this group of 5 as part of the draft assistance budget for next year. Each of us would want to add an organisation or 2. The reality is we need to ensure that we are able to manage as best we can the allocations to allow us to, and I think the Mayor used the terminology of recalibrate. Well, one of the councillors, I think, used something similar to recalibrate, to reset. And it'll be interesting to see what the community thinks. It's very difficult to be, for example, in item 2, allocating or suggesting we allocate $20,000 to both Murray Arts and the regional food share when there are other organisations who would gladly accept half of the funding that they had requested and at the moment are not on that plan. I wonder why, I wonder why the staff have suggested that we include those 2 areas above all of the others. No doubt they have their reasons as to why, and that's documented in our reports. But it's a difficult situation. I suggest to councillors, or I'd like to encourage councillors to support that we put this out to community consultation, receive the feedback, and then look forward to the report that comes from the staff, back from the staff, based on that community consultation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Glacken. Question, Councillor Callaghan, before I take a speaker for.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I have a couple of questions. The first one is about the IVA. So they've received some financial assistance, I believe, in the way of an interest-free loan over a period of 10 years. I can't find it, to be honest. My question is, how much have we loaned them and how much have they paid back? And are they keeping up with repayments? Thank you.
Ms. Coe.
Thank you for the question. And
It's on.
it's on. Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor Mac. In terms of the IVA, in 2019, $330,000 of a 10-year interest-free loan was provided by Albury City Council to UMCT. That was to facilitate the acquisition of the Bristol Court hangar. During that time, that loan has been repaid at $33,000 per year. However, recently they have had some challenges and Albury City agreed to a new loan schedule of $20,000 per year, as was proposed by the UMCT. So with the new variation to their repayment of loans, they are on track. However, in total, they have a balance of $249,000 outstanding, and they've paid $80,000 approximately.
Gosh. Okay, thank you. And a follow-up question, if I may. Noting that we've got Murray Arts up there in the order of $20,000. Has any consideration been given to multi-year agreements for Murray Arts, considering that they do deliver, much like Albury Business Connect, services that Albury can't provide? And secondly, has there also been consideration given to where Murray Arts actually sits within our operating budgets rather than the financial assistance grant section, given that I suppose the application is usually about a project? They deliver multiple projects and engage with pretty much, I think, every arts and culture arm of the business.
Ms. Code?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor Mack. In terms of Murray Arts and any of the community organisational support applications, this year is the first year where we stipulated a 1-year application for COS, just to provide that flexibility from a financial sustainability viewpoint, that as agreements are coming off, and there are ones coming off, we go on a 1-year agreement so that council has got flexibility to adjust according to our financial sustainability parameters. It doesn't mean that in the long run we may not go back to longer term multi-year agreements, because we've had them in the past with Murray Arts. This is a temporary measure at the moment. In terms of where it should sit in our operating budget, Murray Arts is an independent organisation. It is not, we are one of many councils who support Murray Arts, but they're an independent organisation, and we have supported them in the past and we will continue to support them. However, this year we're proposing a slightly reduced rate of 20,000 rather than the original ask. Again, unfortunately, in line with our financial sustainability, it's about presenting those options to council and the community.
Ms. Code, if I may just follow up in regards to that, out of the 7 LGAs, we are the only one that make them go through a financial assistance round. It's all part of, I suppose, like I said, similar to Albury Business Connect, delivering a service that we can't. So maybe consideration could be given to that moving forward. And I do want to highlight that Hothouse Theatre isn't up there yet again. This isn't the decision-making night about what's in and out, but I think we heard really strongly from the arts and culture community the other evening about the need for that to be in. And I'll speak to it later. Sorry, I realised I was in question mode. Sorry.
You're right. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mack, and thank you, Councillor Callaghan, for the questions that weren't questions, as well as the questions. I would just like to, in principle, support this, but if I can get a seconder, I'd really like to propose an amendment for 2 and make it point C that Hothouse Theatre receives $20,000 as well. And if I get a chance and I've got a seconder, I'd like to explain.
Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. We'll just get the amendment up on the screen, then you can speak to Councillor Baker.
Can speak before the amendment if you like. It's pretty simple. It's just.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I listened with interest last Thursday to the speakers that spoke about the importance to Hothouse Theatre for Albury to contribute. It impacts their ability to gain grant funding from New South Wales State Government, and I think from memory that was about 172,000. And I really think without Albury's contribution, that's in jeopardy. And the multiplier effect of that sort of money coming in from New South Wales into Hothouse is the type of money that makes it sustainable. it is an amazing organisation. It's about to turn 30, and I would hate to be one of the councillors that might have put the death knell into Hothouse. So hopefully we can find 20,000, and in the scheme of things, it is not a lot, but I think it means a whole lot to that organisation. So when we have a discussion about this, hopefully you can support the amendment.
Thank you. Speaker 4, councillor Callaghan.
Firstly, thank you, Stuart, for the amendment. I think when we're looking at these things, it's about a bit of a broader perspective. Financial assistance is not simply expenditure or a handout. It's an investment in our community. It supports cultural development, social inclusion, food security, and our community wellbeing. I'm happy to support the amendment to go out to community consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Appears to be no questions or debate about the amendment. Further debate. Councillor Baker, do you wish to close your debate on the amendment?
All I would like to say is that it's a challenging night tonight with our finances and trying to do the right thing by Albury City. But on this particular one, I think the risk of not doing it is far, far greater than the benefit of finding 20,000 in additional cuts. So hopefully we can support this to be included.
Thank you. Happy to put the amendment. This is not the motion. All those in favour of the amendment? Those against? The amendment is carried. The amendment becomes part of the motion. Okay, councillors, any further debate or discussion about the motion? Councillor Hudson,
Thank you, Mayor Mac.
speaking 4.
I pressed my for button, but that's only because I've got a for and an against button and no middle ground button. Look, at the end of the day, the financial assistance that we provide to these groups acts as a force multiplier. It allows the delivery of all sorts of different activities that council has no hope of delivering ourselves, even if we wanted to. The grant funding that we provide is the small amounts, but that money then gets multiplied many times over. For example, as Councillor Baker indicated, the funding that we would provide to Hothouse, that is enabling funding, which enables Hothouse to receive much more substantial funding from the states. So again, I acknowledge the need for us to budget within our means, but ultimately, reducing our community cultural grants by 50%, removing our land management incentive program by 100%, removing a whole bunch of other different grant funding that we would typically do, not providing multi-year agreements when we know that that would provide much greater stability and certainty for the organisations that we do support. And at the same time, the elephant in the room, the over $300,000 that is provided to Albury Business Connect, we need to put this out for community consultation. But again, I do not believe that we are getting the balance right here.
Yeah. Councillor Callaghan, speaking 4.
Yeah, I'll be speaking for the motion this evening. I probably really want to highlight, we have a 2 cities, 1 community initiative here, and I hope that this sends a message to Wodonga City Council about what the community see as a priority. And Albury Wodonga Food Share, I believe we're giving money to the Wodonga Aunt, and also now we are endorsing Hothouse. And I would really like to encourage Wodonga City Council to come to the party here as part of that 2 cities and see 2 cities, 1 community and see value in that. And I hope their community, when the budget process goes out, really highlights that as well. I would like to echo what Councillor Hudson said, with multi-year agreements. Last year when we were in this budget process, the whole idea of pausing it was to go back to the table with Wodonga and look at how we can provide equitable payment for organisations that deliver across the border. That hasn't happened, and as a result, some of these organisations that were being given multi-year funding are now having to come back year upon year. And and ask for the funding that they so desperately need to deliver amazing and meaningful outcomes for our community. So, I really think we need to look at that multi-year agreement. I really implore Wodonga City Council and the community of Wodonga to get behind these organisations as well, because it's critical. And it's not just for Albury residents, it's for Albury, Wodonga and our surrounding communities that really benefit largely from the three in Section 2 being Murray Arts, Albury Wodonga Regional Food Share and Hothouse Theatre. And, I would have loved to have been in a position where Albury City Council could give the full amounts to all of the organisations. But the fact that we've got to some compromise here, I think, is a good outcome considering our situation. Sadly, not the full amount, but thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan. No further speakers for or against the motion. Councillor Bugg, you changed the motion, but just by minor amendment. Does that mean Councillor Bugg closed the debate or Councillor Clacken? Because we've still got up there the motion that Councillor Baker moved it. Councillor Clacken, do you wish to close debate?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, confirming that it's now dealing with the addition of C Hothouse Theatre, $20,000. Again, just to highlight, this is a draft financial assistance budget that we're putting out to the community. It's part of the suite of other draft reports that we've dealt with at the previous motion. And confirm, a couple of people have referred to pausing, reset, recalibrate tonight. This is part of that process. This is, as councillors have already said, a very difficult year. And as I raised earlier, there are many things that each of us would like to put back into these budgets, and others would like to rip other things out as well. And I acknowledge that because it's such a difficult year to be undertaking this. It is a pause, it is a reset, and there's a lot of work that we still have to do. One of the things I find interesting is the discussion this year about, well, perhaps we should be doing a multi-year agreement with organisations. And each year there are some organisations that we have a one-year agreement with. There are other organisations where we have multi-year agreements with. And I do recall there have been councillors in the past who have tried to sever contracts where we've had multi-year agreements with organisations as well. And so it's a very difficult situation. Do we have a one-year agreement? Do we have multi-year agreements? And there are councillors who want to disrupt those multi-year agreements, even if we do have them. So it's a very difficult situation. And I thank the staff for confirming why it is that we're suggesting a single-year agreement with organisations that are being added into the program for this year. I acknowledge that, and that's important for our community to realise that. And the reason I'm raising it is I want to highlight to our community in this draft financial assistance budget that we're putting out for community consultation, it is a reality of a recheck through this year, which is why we don't have as many organisations being supported in the draft. And it is why we're looking at, for those organisations, a single year and acknowledging that there are some ongoing multi-year agreements that are still part of the program as well. And I think that was important for us to highlight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. CM 14.4 Development Application 10.29.389411.1/PAN/160293 brackets 39 Lot Torrens Subtitle Subdivision Tree Removal Staged 110 Sarah's Drive, Laguna. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I move the recommendation that Council A receives the contents of this report and B refuses development application 10.202.1.38941.1 for a 39 lot Torrens title subdivision and tree removal staged for the reasons included attachment 5 to this report. And I will read the reasons for the refusal. 1, the development exceeds the biodiversity offset scheme threshold and accordingly requires the lodgement of a biodiversity development assessment report, brackets BDAR, under the Biodiversity Conservation Act 2016. The absence of a BDAR renders the application contrary to the provisions of section 1.7 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. 2, the application does not satisfy section 4.1 of the Albury Local Environmental Plan 2010, which provides that the size of any lot resulting from a subdivision of land to which this clause applies is not to be less than the minimum size shown on the lot size map in relation to that land, and is therefore contrary to the provisions of section 4.151A1 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. 3, the application does not satisfy section 4.1B of the Albury Local Environmental Plan 2010, which provides that development consent must not be granted to subdivide an original lot to create other lots, in brackets the resulting lots, unless one of the resulting lots will contain all of the land in Zone C3 environmental management, and is therefore contrary to the provisions of section 4.151AI of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. 4, the application does not comply with the objectives of Part 5, Tree Preservation of Albury Development Control Plan 2010, which seeks to assist the retention and ongoing protection of native vegetation that may have derived from an endangered ecological community and or that may be habitat for threatened species, and is therefore contrary to provisions of section 4.15A3 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. And 5, the application proposes substantial clearing of vegetation that constitutes known or potential habitat for Sloane's froglet, in brackets Crinia sloanei, close bracket. The removal of this vegetation is likely to result in adverse biodiversity impacts that have not been adequately avoided, minimised or mitigated, and is therefore contrary to the provisions of section 4.151B of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Glacken.
Thank you.
Councillor Hudson, do you wish to speak to this motion?
I will, Mayor Mac. I'd like to acknowledge the significant work that staff have undertaken in assessing this application. It's pretty clear from the report that this has been a complex and protracted process, multiple requests for information, multiple going out for public display. And so I also want to acknowledge the 18 submissions that were received from the community against this development application. This application as it stands simply does not meet the requirements of the planning framework as evidenced by the reasons for refusal as read out. Critically, it does lack a biodiversity development assessment report, which is a mandatory requirement given the scale of the vegetation removal that's proposed. And without that, council can't properly assess the environmental impacts or be satisfied that they could be avoided, minimised or offset. There's also clear non-compliance with the LEP, including minimum lot sizes and the handling of land zone for environmental management. And these are not minor departures. They're significant and they go to the integrity of our planning controls. And in addition, the proposal has substantial vegetation removal, including potential habitat for threatened species such as the Sloane's froglet. And that's not something we can overlook. And again, I've mentioned the 18 submissions. I note the extent of the community concern with multiple submissions raising issues around environmental impact and amenity. And while not all of the submissions are things that we can make a determination on, I think they do reinforce that there are unresolved and substantive issues with this proposal. Frankly, it's 2026. It's my view that developers need to be doing a lot better from an environmental perspective. We know more now. We understand the importance of biodiversity, habitat connectivity, and the cumulative impacts of vegetation loss. And the bar should not be getting lower. It should be getting higher. This refusal does not preclude development on the site, but it does send a clear message that the development must meet the required standards and that environmental impacts must be properly assessed and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. You're going. There appears to be no further speakers for or against. Just prior, I might note that Councillor Cameron has had to leave the chamber due to an urgent work matter, so he may return. Okay, there's no further discussion or debate. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to speak to close the debate?
Thank you, Mayor.
Happy to put the motion by division. All those in favour? Councillor Baker, Councillor Bullen, Councillor Mack, Councillor Cunningham, Councillor Hudson and Councillor Glacken. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. 14.5, the Health Access Plan. Thank you. Yeah. No one against. There was no one against that motion, but there was someone absent. Hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, councillor Glacken. 14.5, the Rural Health Access Plan. Have we got any starters? Councillor Glacken.
I have a question. I'll ask my question once someone's happy to move it or not, as the case may be. Thank you.
I'll start someone else. Councillor Callahan.
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation that council indicates its endorsement and support for Dr. McGurk's 6-point Rural Health Action Plan aimed at improvements in rural and regional health into the future, and 2, issue correspondence to the New South Wales Minister for Regional Health advising Albury City's support for the Rural Health Action Plan.
Thank you. Councillor Billerman.
Wait a second, Mayor Mac.
Thank you. Councillor Callahan, I have a question to take before we open debate.
Please.
Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. Through you to the most relevant member of staff, do we have any other supporting documentation to go with this? Noting we have a poster that is generic, and is there any other information?
Mr. McGrath.
Simple answer is no additional supporting information per se. There was a covering email that came from the Secretariat of Regional Cities, New South Wales. As I understand it, prior to me joining Albury City in February, the matter had been considered at a meeting of Regional Cities, New South Wales. Dr. McGurk had presented his plan, and there was a call from the Secretariat arising from that meeting for the member councils to provide letters of support, etc., to the Minister for Health and others. And it was on that basis, and I'm aware that several other member councils of regional cities have taken the matter up as well. But it was on that basis that I drafted the report for council's consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Callahan, did you wish to open debate?
Yeah, just briefly. I think the Rural Health Action Plan is quite a common sense document. I think it talks about better care closer to home. We know regionally we don't get our fair share of the pie, and this tries to address the problem but provide a plan. The 6 steps in here, I can't imagine anyone wouldn't want. Guarantee to see a GP, birth closer to home, local staff where possible, and reducing that fly-in, fly-out. Local voices and real power, something that we've been advocating for here within our community for some time. A watchdog for rural health and one system working together. To me, this is a common sense approach, and hopefully multiple councils support this. To not support this, I suppose, are we looking for perfect? I think it sends a great message that we want more, we expect more regionally, and I'm happy to endorse Dr. McGurk's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against, Councillor Glacken.
Thank you. I speak against it only because whilst I support better access to health and health services, absolutely, but I have some issues with this plan and its relationship to any local government area specifically, and I'm assuming this is for New South Wales. I do have some concerns. We're talking about a GP guarantee for every town. How big is that town? How big is that town? Birth closer to home. Absolutely. However, we can't be encouraging the opening of the very small hospitals when they don't have the facilities and services to enable those birthings in those smaller hospitals. I have grave concerns with this very generic list. I support the theory, the concept generically, but I cannot support this list in the way it is written. It is most unfortunate that one of the issues we have with, as the Mayor raised earlier, is the current meeting practice program that we have. We're not able to take this as an opportunity, or not allowed to look at this as a group of councillors and ask those questions as a group of councillors so we can get some more information to help with the aim of Dr. McGurk, and that is to increase health accessibility across our state. I understand that entirely, but as a one-page flyer plan, I cannot support this. And I would be urging councillors to consider us deferring this for greater information, including what are the parameters around each of these areas, or indeed I would just have to abstain if this remains the motion, because I cannot support something that is so loose and generic. I'm very sorry, councillors. I think I have a lot of questions and a lot of grave concerns about what level of support would be provided with each of these and where this would go. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker 4, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I do speak in support of it. I think Councillor Glacken has raised some legitimate concerns relating to the brevity of the plan, but ultimately the reality is that access to healthcare remains one of the defining inequities in our country between metropolitan and regional and rural areas. Anyone who's spent time in our local hospitals or tried to access a GP or navigate the mental health services knows that the current system is not meeting the needs of communities like ours. So in that context, I'm pretty happy to support this plan. It is brief. It is clearly aspirational. You know, there are areas of the plan that require far more detail if they were to ever be delivered. You know, the proposal around reducing reliance on locums and reinvesting those funds into permanent staff is absolutely sensible in principle. But if I put my nurse's cap on for a moment, I mean, just this week we've seen the IRC hand down a decision on nursing and midwifery pay in New South Wales, which even though it's a 16% increase over 3 years for registered nurses, it still leaves New South Wales nurses some of the lowest paid, if not the lowest paid in the country. You know, in 2027, an enrolled nursing student from Wodonga TAFE who graduates will be faced with a choice: work in Victoria for 11% more per hour or go to Albury. I mean, this is clearly a structural barrier to recruitment and retention that we have in New South Wales. And this plan doesn't really speak to those specific challenges. And there are also areas of this plan that I think need to go much further. There's no mention of mental health, for example. It needs to be given the prominence deserved. We all know that it is one of the most pressing health challenges that regional communities face. So it is brief, but in general, I think that it's commendable that Dr. McGurk's done something, contributed to the debate, and I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. No speakers against. Speaker 4, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Yes, I can't see any problem supporting it. It's an ideal. They're good improvements, and hopefully this might make a bit more noise and get the government thinking about it more. So I can't see an issue with not voting for this. Thank you.
Thank you. There appears to be no further speakers for or against. Just to outline the plan, says the Rural Health Action Plan outlines 6 affordable and achievable reforms drawn directly from the major Parliament inquiry. This is not about billion-dollar restructures. It's about fixing what's broken with practical changes that put people first. I think having been in the room when Dr. Joe spoke to Regional Cities New South Wales, he was looking for that tacit support for simple things that we're all experiencing. I think, again, to Councillor Baker's point, I don't see any harm in supporting this. I think it's a good step forward to drive momentum for not just Albury, but also all of our smaller rural communities that are struggling at the moment to have GPs and have the services they require to grow and to feel safe. So I have no issue not supporting this, and I think we all should consider it. Councillor Callaghan, did you wish to close?
Just briefly, thank you. As you've highlighted, it stemmed from a major parliamentary inquiry, but there's some practical steps here. It's a common sense approach, but also supporting this motion is also supporting our regional neighbours and who also experience major inequity in rural healthcare. And I think it's important to look after our neighbours. So I'll be happily supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? Abstained? Okay. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, we've got the 14.6 draft compliance and enforcement policy. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bullivant.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I move that Council A endorses the draft Albury City compliance and enforcement policy. B, place the draft on public exhibition for a minimum period of 28 days. And C, if no submissions are received seeking amendments, adopt the compliance and enforcement policy.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivant, did you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mayor Mack. Once again, this is just a policy document that's been brought forward to the councils for its draft process. We'll go to community consultation and we'll see what we get, but it's just a document that's put in place for our enforcement rules within the city, and the New South Wales Ombudsman's got a bit to say in there as well about enforcement, but it's just a policy, so we'll see how we go with it.
Thank you. On that note, I'm happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Just to let the people watching the live stream, Councillor Cameron has returned and is participating in debate. Okay, we're up to officer reports for noting. 15.1, the investment balance is March 2026. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Keller, Blacken.
Thank you. Mayor Mack, I'd like to move the recommendation as a motion that council receive and note the investment balances report for the month of March 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Councillor Blacken, do you wish to speak to that at all?
Thank you.
No further speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour?
Yes.
Anyone against? The motion is carried. 15.2, the Two Cities One Community 6 monthly update, 1 July 2025 to 31 December 2025. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I'd like to move the recommendation, pardon me, that Council A receives and notes a 6 monthly progress update of the Two Cities One Community Strategic Action Plan, and B, the update is placed on the Two Cities One Community website for community awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. Seconder, thanks. Councillor Bullivant.
Happy to second, Mayor Mack.
Councillor Callaghan, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
Okay, no further speakers for or against. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Did you vote then, Councillor Blacken?
I did.
Yeah, thank you. Voting for. Yep, okay, motion is carried. Okay, no delegates reports for noting. Notice of urgent business. Anyone have any? Councillor Bullivant.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mack. Just to enlighten our council group that in today's Sydney Telegraph, and we'll probably come out tomorrow, that our Mayor, Mayor Mack, and the Mayor of Lismore, Mayor Steve Craig, have been mentioned in a rural report just recently that we have two of the most influential mayors in regional Australia and New South Wales. So it's good to see that our mayor is always pushing Albury's virtues and strengths of Albury and representing our city at the big smoke. So, Mr. Mayor, congratulations, well done. It's not a very good picture, but it'll do.
Thank you, Councillor Bullivant. There was actually a picture of Mr. Mayor Creek, so he's got no hair. Councillor Cameron, you have a question or an item?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this elucidation from Councillor Bullivant. Who is the author of these assertions?
Probably a reporter from the Daily Telegraph, Councillor.
Oh, a well-known newspaper, yes, of a certain type.
Okay. Councillor Callaghan, do you have an item?
Yes, over the weekend, our youth team held a very successful event in QE2 Square. I think it was one of the most well-attended events that I've ever been to. Thank you to Mandy Wilson and Josh and the Youth Council. The fruit flies were performing, but not only that, it was fantastic to see so many agencies attending that were connected to youth and really providing information, but also interactive activities. Yeah, well done.
I share those plaudits. I think the youth team and the councillors did a fantastic job, and it was well received. A beautiful sunny day, and I think former councillor Steve Bowen was there doing the emceeing and did a fantastic job. So well done to all concerned. Fantastic event. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Just want to note that on the weekend, the Albury and Border Rescue Squad took the official handover for their new heavy rescue vehicle. The Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner of the VRA Rescue New South Wales attended. And it was just a really, it's a fantastic demonstration of the value that the volunteers provide and, a tangible investment in their capacity, which will absolutely benefit our community and surrounds. So, great to see.
Thank you. Okay, that appears to be no further urgent business, and we have no confidential matters. So the meeting is closed at 8:10. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, staff. Now.
What time's she doing? Oh.